Shalom, Brakatha Yahweh Yahushai, Brakatha Yahweh Yahushai, Brakatha Yahweh Yahushai, Brakatha Yahweh Yahushai. And this is another lesson. Hopefully it'll be edifying. And an article I had came across today that popped up on my feed, and I'll get to it. But I've been seeing a lot of videos as of late of people who basically are people who live off grid, or people who, if you want to call them preppers, so to speak, and people that live off grid, and people that are speaking about and they knowledgeable and know about this coming reset that we're in right now. They know about the CBDC, the central bank digital currency. They they speak about, telling people to you know flee the cities, because we know that the cities are going to be cut off with this next pandemic that they have set up, and this whatever next pathogen that they're going to release out there. They're going to lock all the cities down. So you get people that's getting in the mind frame of leaving the cities and going out into the rural areas, or even up into the mountains, and try to set up a homestead, and you think that you're going to be protected, or that you're going to be safe out there. And I'm going to tell you this, the answer to that is hell no. There's nowhere to run to, and there's nowhere to hide from this so-called new world order, or from this time, basically the evil day. We're basically going into the time of the evil day, and there's nowhere to run to, and there's nowhere to hide. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to start off here in the book of 2nd Ezra 15:1 and read down. And it says, "Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord power." So it says, "Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord power." The words that's in this book. Basically taking the prophecies that's here in the scriptures and mirroring it to the day and time that we're living in now, to the things that are happening in this day and time. This is just an example of Matthew 24, when it says, "There should no flesh be saved." This is just another example of it right here. And it says, verse 2, "And cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. Fear not the imaginations against thee. Let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee." The incredulity, fear not the imaginations against thee. Let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. Okay? The people that's trying to say that we're not credible, that the things that we're speaking about is fantasy, it's not true, it's a lie, we're just speaking hate. Everything that we speak can be backed up and verified in the Bible, and more or less, just look around you. Look around and look at the signs of the times. Look at what's going on. Everything is being consolidated. Businesses are closing left and right. They're laying people off, especially in the tech area. People are getting laid off. They're laying thousands of people off every other day, every other month. Thousands of people are being laid off. Different companies are going under. I think Bed Bath & Beyond right now is in the process of, I believe they're getting ready to go under. Another place called 99, I think they're in the process. I think they're going through that process too. A lot of things are shutting down slowly but surely. It says, verse 4, "For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness." And you know what? 2/3 of you Negroes, West Indians, and Puerto Ricans, Haitians, Dominicans, Mexicans, Cubans, Brazilians, Argentinians, Virginians, Venezuelans, Peruvians, so on and so forth. A lot of you are unfaithful, especially a lot of you American Negroes, West Indian, a lot of you Haitians, which you're Israelites. You're Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. You're Israelites. A lot of you are unfaithful. A lot of you do not believe in the word of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. You're into that, as Apostle Ramlab coined it, that Renaissance Christianity. Or let me give it another name, plantation Christianity. For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. Behold, saith the Lord power, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. So the Lord is bringing the sword in the form of hell. Disease is a sword. Famine is also a form of a sword. The lack of bread, which goes into famine. The sword, famine, death, and destruction. These people taking these jabs, their heart is starting to explode on them. They're blocking it out of the national news media, but people all over the place are doing videos and speaking about it and talking about it on alternative media sites. The sword, famine, death, and destruction. For wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. The scripture said, for wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. So the premise of this, where I was saying, where you have people that are trying to come up with an alternate solution, so to speak. Leave the city, flee the city, and go out into the rural areas, go out into the mountains. Try to set up a little homestead and get you some animals and get you a water source, and you thinking that maybe it will shield you from what the new world order is bringing. It's not going to work. Now the scriptures say this. Let me go down here to Ezra, the same book, 2nd Ezra 15. Let me go down to the 56th verse. I'm going to 57. I'm going to read the point, 57 and 58. 2nd Ezra 57 and 58. Thy children shall die of hunger, and thou shalt fall through the sword. Thy cities shall be broken down, because the cities are going to be cut off. Cities are going to be cut off. During 2 years ago, well, now it's almost 3 years, because it was around March of 2020. So we're in 2023. In about 2 more months, it'll be March. So we're almost 3 years removed from when the pandemic started. Scripture says here, Ezra 15 and 57, Thy children shall die of hunger, and thou shalt fall through the sword. Thy city shall be broken down, and all thine shall perish with the sword in the field. They that be in the mountains, so those of you who think that if you set up a little homestead, if you leave the city and flee into the rural areas or into the mountains and set up a homestead, and you got you a fresh water source, a stream, or in the Great Lakes region, and you're away from the city, that you think you're good, they that be in the mountains shall die of hunger, and eat their own flesh and drink their own blood, for the very hunger of bread and thirst of water. You're not going to be safe being up out there. There's nowhere to run to, and there's nowhere to hide. Now, let me get into this article. I'm going to come right back here to the scripture and read it again, about they that be in the mountains shall die of hunger. Now, let me give you a reason why. Again, Matthew 24 says, and Matthew 24 and 22, and except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days should be shortened. Now, I'm just giving you an example of there should no flesh be saved, except those days be shortened. Now, here's an article that speaks about USA Today, and this was going back to January 17th, 2023, so about 6 days ago. It says, forever chemicals in freshwater fish more risky than those in drinking water, study says. This is from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Milwaukee, the levels of forever chemicals found in fish harvested from river streams and lakes across the United States, including the Great Lakes, are much higher than in commercially raised fish, according to a new study. So, commercially raised fish will be fish that are raised on a fish farm. All of those fish that are raised in a fish farm are genetically modified. So, of course, fish that are in the wild would be a better source. So if you're in the wild, in the mountains, in the Great Lakes region, by rivers and streams where you got freshwater fish, you should be in a better case, right? Nope. Read it again. Milwaukee, the levels of forever chemicals found in fish harvested from river streams and lakes across the United States, including the Great Lakes, are much higher than in commercially raised fish, according to a new study. The peer-reviewed study published in the Environmental Research Journal found that consuming freshwater fish harvested from urban areas 12 times per year could more than triple the level of PFOSs, which are forever chemicals, one of the most well-known in research PFAS compounds in residents of the United States. It says here, researchers say the samples in this study actually show lower levels of some of the chemicals, which could be due to industry changes. All right. So now, but they're telling you forever chemicals are found in these freshwater fish that are in what? The Great Lakes region. Now I'm going to show you another article that was in USA Today, and that was 6 days ago on January 17th. Now, here in CNN Health, CNN.com, it's the same article, but they're showing you a different, from the same day, January 17, 2023. This one says here, CNN Health. It says forever chemicals in freshwater fish. Now they show a graph here of the United States, and you can see all these purple dots here across the entire United States shows areas where these are where you have freshwater rivers, streams, or lakes. And every one of them, the fish that are in there, the freshwater fish, are contaminated with forever chemicals. Now this is CNN.com, forever chemicals in freshwater fish, and this is showing you the map of the United States, and every purple dot is where there's a freshwater lake or stream. I'm going to read here. It says each point on the map represents approximate locations where PFAS have been detected in fish based on the Environmental Working Group's analysis of Environmental Protection Agency data. Locally caught fish are full of dangerous chemicals called PFAS, study finds. So this is showing you that. Let me read a little bit down here. Now CNN says fish caught in fresh waters of the nation's streams and rivers and the Great Lakes contain dangerously high levels of PFOs, short for perfluorooctane sulfonic acid, a known synthetic toxin phased out by the federal government, according to a study of data from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. The chemicals PFOSs is part of a family of manufactured additives known as that name is hard for me to pronounce. Substances, or PFAs, widely used since the 1950s to make consumer products non-stick and resistant to stains, water, grease, damage, so on and so forth, called forever chemicals because they fail to break down easily in the environment. PFAs have leached into the nation's drinking water via public water systems and private wells. The chemicals then accumulate in the bodies of fish, shellfish, livestock, dairy, and game animals that people eat, experts say. So again, Matthew 24 and 22. I'm going to read 21 on down. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. So now you understand why I say this is another example of why no flesh should be saved. This is another example. There's nowhere to run to. There's nowhere to hide. There's no place where you can go. There's nowhere where you can escape this devil and him pouring toxins and garbage into the environment and destroying everything. There's nowhere to run to. There's nowhere to hide. Now the scriptures say this. Let me go back here again. Let me go back to. So now, when I read this again, 2 Ezra 15 and 58, they that be in the mountains shall die of hunger. Now you understand why. And eat their own flesh and drink their own blood, for very hunger of bread and thirst of water. Because even in the mountains where you got the freshwater fish, you got fresh water, you got live game, everything out there is tainted because of these forever chemicals that these devils have been dumping into the rivers and the lakes and the streams since the 50s. So now let me hit this next scripture. And the so-called white man, you're not getting away with none of this. The Lord got something brewing for you. And the scriptures say this. That's why the scriptures say this in Revelations 11 and 18. I'm going to read this and then read another scripture and close this out. It says, Revelations 11 and 18, and the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead that they should be judged, and that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants the prophets. So this is hope for the elect, the prophets of the Most High, the 1/3 of Israel. There's hope for the elect of Israel. And that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants the prophets. And that reward is what? That reward ultimately is the kingdom, but also part of that reward is being able to get vengeance on our enemies. Being able to put hands on the people who put hands on us, even in the past. And that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants the prophets, and to the saints, and them that fear thy name. So the name, fearing the name of the Lord is important. The name of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua is important. The scriptures say the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. It's a small and great, and shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth. And who is it that's destroying the earth? This damn Edomite, the devil, the so-called white man, the children of Esau. And shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth. I'm going to read one more scripture, and then I'm going to close this out. I wasn't going to make this long. I just wanted to make that point about another example of why the scriptures say there should no flesh be saved. We're going to go to Isaiah. I'm going to read Isaiah, the 2nd chapter. Finish this off right here. Isaiah 2, and I'm going to start at 12. For the day of, read this on down. It says, for the day of the Lord of hosts shall be upon everyone that is proud and lofty. Nobody is more proud and lofty than the so-called white man, than this Edomite. They don't think that they're going down. They don't think that the Lord is going to come back and destroy their red asses. But you got another thing coming. For the day of the Lord, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, shall be upon everyone that is proud and lofty, and upon everyone that is lifted up, and he shall be brought low. And upon all the cedars of Lebanon that are high and lifted up, and upon all the oaks of Bashan, and upon all the high mountains, and upon all the hills that are lifted up, and upon every high tower, and upon every fenced wall, and upon all the ships of Tarshish, and upon all the pleasant pictures. And the loftiness of man shall be bowed down, and the haughtiness of men shall be made low. And the Lord, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua alone, shall be exalted in that day. I'm going to read 17 again. And the loftiness of man shall be bowed down. The Lord is going to bow you devils down. And the loftiness of man shall be bowed down, and the haughtiness of men shall be made low. And the Lord power alone shall be exalted in that day. So again, this was just an example of when the scriptures in Matthew in Matthew 24, when it says, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, the Lord is going to cut that time short. So I hope this was edifying, and I'm going to say shalom to the next one.